Right. Everybody, please take your seats. Oh my God, I got so serious in here. No, it's okay. All right. Wow, it's a packed house. Well, welcome everybody to the first ever LA Food Pod live show. I'm your host, Lucas Servodio. This right here next to me is my trusty co-host, Father Saul. Give it up for Father Saul. Saul, is it true that you are now a full-time Los Angeles resident?
That's correct, baby. We are officially a LA Food Pod with two co-hosts that actually live in LA. We finally pulled it off.
Yeah, it seems like an important thing to do. You folks might not know that Saul and I actually used to be roommates, and we used to live right up the street, right here on Portia Street, as it's probably actually called. Saul, can you believe that we're hosting an event right here at Little Joy?
This is actually pretty wild. Little Joy, me and Luke had some of our favorite memories here, man. When I left for Seattle after our 2 years living together, you threw me a surprise party right here in this bar. One of my favorite memories of all time. And man, the neighborhood spot.
It's a neighborhood spot. Do you have any anecdotes that you can actually tell from that time in our lives?
Oh, you did not prepare me for that. Do you remember the time when I was leaving, we did a prank month?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so when me and Luca had a weirdly romantic roommate situation, I feel like. And so the year I decided to leave, we decided each month would have a different theme, right? And one April, because of April Fool's Day, we did prank month. And I bought a Trump bumper sticker, it was 2016, to put on the back of your little red Fiat. And I chickened out because I thought you were going to get crashed, basically,
and
harassed.
For the best.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Good times.
What I did is I replaced his protein powder with flour and made him drink that. Yeah. The best part is he didn't even realize it. He just drank it. This is the taste buds of the LA Food Pod co-host, everybody. Well, hey, I want to say thank you, everybody, for being here. It means a lot to us. Usually people do thank yous at the end, but like every single one of my favorite restaurants likes to say, we do things a little bit differently here. And I'm going to thank everybody at the start. So first of all, if you haven't already gotten one, please make sure you go to the back of the room and get a gift bag. We've got some incredible gift bags. I want to thank Rusty's Chips for giving us their chips. Actually, Saul has never had a Rusty's chip, so I'm going to have him try it on stage. But while he does that, I also want to thank Hatch Yakitori downtown for providing hot sauce, and also Snibs, which make footwear specifically for chefs. They're giving everybody free shoes. How generous is that? All you gotta do is go back there and, right? Saul, when have you ever done anything that generous?
Oh, I don't think so ever yet. My job is literally giving money away, so that's a little bit concerning maybe, but yeah, I'll try.
How's the chip, bud?
Actually really good, man. I'm not just saying it because their CEO is here. This is actually a very good chip. Thank you.
You hear that, Chad? That's very good chip. Very good chip. Oh yeah, by the way, thank you for saying that, Chad. Oftentimes people are like, hey, we want this to be a conversation, but they don't really mean it. Audience participation is very much encouraged here. So if you have something to say, by all means, please say it. I also wanted to thank DJ Patty Kahn, the Cosmic DJ over there. Huge foodie. You're going to see her at a lot of foodie events, so remember that name. Of course, I want to thank my boy Robert over here for producing the event. Also a huge foodie. You got to thank Little Joy for hosting us, and of course, The Lonely Oyster and Chef Dom outside has been making all of this amazing food. There he is, Chef Dom. And of course, we couldn't have done this also without Emily, Saul's girlfriend, and my wife, who I still will not name because she asked me not to say her name, as you guys know if you listen to the podcast, okay? All right, fair enough. Saul, how would you feel about me doing some crowd work?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to watch this? Jesus Christ. Go for it, baby. Let's see.
It's going to be really, really simple. How many regular or semi-regular listeners of the podcast do we have in the room? Okay. A lot of liars in the room, and that's okay. How about first-time listeners? Okay, my wife included, yes. Okay, so in case you don't know how this typically goes, What we do is we usually spend a little bit of time talking about the latest headlines of the day. We sort of give our takes on them. And then we usually need to speak to somebody from the community, whether it's a chef or a reporter. And we've got both of those people on today. Actually, a lot of former guests are in the room today. So thank you very much for making the time for us in the past. But because usually we just sit around and talk about the headlines without really a leg to stand on, we decided to actually bring somebody with a lot more authority than us on today. And that is Eater's Mona Holmes. Everybody give it up for Mona. Right here.
Hi.
Mona, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Mona, when I texted you earlier today, you told me that you were an Echo Park parking wizard. You had your hacks. What are your hacks?
Okay, this is gonna sound a little cheesy, but I say a parking prayer before I leave the house. It works. You cannot turn on your car. You have to picture that you are going to get a spot on the street that you will not pay for, and you will get it. Period.
That's a good one. I like that.
Power of visualization. I love it.
It works. Somehow it works.
Manifestation. Mona, have you had any good meals recently?
I have. I recently got back from Florida and was talked into having Mexican by my relatives, which is something that I will never do again. And so the second that we got off the plane, I told my husband to take me to Tacos Temex, which always hits. But probably the best meal that I had was Super Burger in Pasadena, right? It's kind of, I haven't been there in a couple of decades, and I had a nephew that needed French fries, and their burger is one of those old school, just solid, uncomplicated, good ratio of tomatoes and lettuce and all the good stuff. You just should get one, period. They do not care about people at all. I'm like, hi, can I talk to you about a story? They do not care. They just need to make their orders and get the hell out of there. And everyone should have one.
I'm okay with that. So we're not talking about any of these new school smash burger type things.
I love a smash burger. I'm a Goldburger fan.
Yeah, well, you're famously the person who wrote that LA has reached peak smash burger.
I sure did. I did.
Yeah.
And yes, I do. I mean, how do y'all feel about it? Do you think that we have too many smash burgers around?
Make some noise for too many smash burgers. Okay, a little bit of noise, a little bit of noise.
We don't have enough?
Not enough smash burgers? More noise for that one. Okay, sounds like the smash burger fans are in the house. Well, thank you for joining us, Mona. So typically the way this goes is I make an agenda, and then I make Saul respond with his reactions to my agenda. But because we've already got quite a few aspiring dictators in the country these days, I decided to democratize the process. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of headline show and tell, right? I've asked Mona and Saul to both come to the table with a headline that caught their eye this week and tell us why they found it interesting. Mona, why don't we start with you?
One of my colleagues at Eater.com wrote a great story about Haitian chefs and the diaspora and how they are bringing different flavors to various parts of the country, and the timeliness of it is kind of obvious. I'm not even going to go into detail. I think we can all kind of talk about, or even just think about, someone brought me a paloma. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Okay. What I love about that story is that it reminds me of why I love food writing, and because it tells the story of how we got to where we are, how people moved into a particular area, because the majority of us in this room are visitors who came here at some point and established ourselves, and with us came the recipes, the dishes, the culture. And it reminded me of how when you really go deep on a specific cuisine and understand, the nuances and the traditions, that it's difficult to see someone as less than human. So that's why that story really resonated with me.
Yeah, I thought it was a really great story, to your point, for the reasons that you were saying. One of the anecdotes that really struck me in the story, though, was I think one of the restaurateurs said something like, they experienced a big dip in business after the Haitian remarks, the famous Haitian remarks, infamous, I should say. And what struck me about that is, if you recall back in 2020, when the pandemic started going on and there was a lot of like racism against Chinese restaurants. It feels like people actually rallied to Chinese restaurants, like people went to support them. But it seems like the same thing didn't happen with the Haitian restaurants, at least that were quoted in the story. Any thoughts on why?
I'm happy to start. I mean, I think the big difference is with the comments that were made by Trump at the time, you didn't associate them necessarily with dining out necessarily. I myself was surprised to hear that business to Haitian restaurants had gone down so sharply because I just simply did not connect that a racist comment made on the campaign trail would translate directly to folks in Boston not going to a Haitian restaurant. I was just fundamentally surprised to hear that. So no, I was pretty shocked by that, and it felt fundamentally different from COVID, where COVID people could not go out anyway, right? Like the impact of the business was built into the crisis. So it was a pretty shocking thing to hear, and also pretty interesting to hear how some restaurateurs across the country are taking on the challenge of bringing people back into the fold.
Totally agree with you. And also too, I wish that we had some more options as far as Haitian food goes around here. We used to have a really great one just south of Echo Park Boulevard a few years back. And I hope that we get to experience that again. But yeah, I definitely see the differences. People being scared of things that, this was early COVID, so we didn't really understand what was happening at that point. People's assumptions definitely got a hold of them. Misinformation definitely did too. But this was different because I feel like most people saw through it. That it was something being politicized and that they weren't going to have it. And so the best thing that they did was empower themselves and these restaurants with their pocketbook.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that actually, Mona. Are there any Haitian restaurants in Los Angeles? I don't think I've ever been to one.
Not anymore.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
right. There seems to, obviously, there's some really famous ones around the country, like Gregory Gourdet's up in Portland. That was a James Beard winner last year, right?
That's right. That's right. Con up in Portland. That's right.
Yeah. We do get accused of only reading Eater headlines talking about Top Chef. So you can expect a lot of Eater headlines at Top Chef tonight, guys, including former Top Chef contestant Jackson Kalb, who'll be with us in a little bit. But that's a really interesting story. I would also like to hear what story you brought to the table, Saul.
Yeah, sure. So I didn't do Luca's homework assignment because I don't like listening to Luca or following his instructions. But what I did instead, one of my favorite food media trends is that at the end of each year or beginning of each new year, the New York Times and others will pull together their food predictions for the coming 12 months. And they typically range from, well-educated, reasonable guesses to completely insane hot takes about where food is going. And you read it and you're like, there's no chance. However, that piece hasn't quite been written for 2025 yet. Instead, I wanted to go look back at what the New York Times told us was happening in 2024 and see how correct or incorrect they were. So this is written by Kim Severson. And to be clear, the way they do these pieces is she goes out and talks to a bunch of industry experts and forecasts and kind of compiles what she thinks are the most likely trends to take place. One of which was meal-flavored cocktails, caprese martinis, smoked salmon vodka. Tell me, Mona, Luca, have you guys been drinking your dinners recently?
Yes.
Savory cocktails?
Yes.
Wait, you have? Oh my gosh.
It's fucking delicious. Oh my God. It was out at Boulevard Steak in the Valley. And this thing, and also I'm a complete lightweight. This thing had me out shortly after, but it was full of, and it was, a caprese, full of tomatoes and mozzarella and the like. And it just, but when a bartender knows how to balance things out just right and then adds in these other elements, it's so good.
I am truly shocked to hear this.
Really
I was
good.
reading the piece. There was a Waldorf salad cocktail in New York. And look.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah. I mean, look, sounds like maybe the best way to consume a salad. I would definitely take that, but I'm shocked to hear it, and at least thanks for getting this.
Yeah, there's also a lot of oyster martinis that I've noticed. Like there's one at Mirate in Los Feliz, and that one's very good. And there's one at Loreto in Frogtown as well. So Lonely Oyster as well, oyster martini. No, there is one with caviar on it at the Lonely Oyster, right? So, okay, oyster and caviar at the Lonely Oyster. Noted.
The New York Times told us the dish of the year was going to be soup. 2024 is all about soup. They had a line that said, soup, bone broth's more interesting younger cousin. And I was like, who has ever thought of bone broth and soup on those dynamics? Guys, was it the year of soup for you?
No.
No. No. I think it was the year of light wine bar fare. Like really, like I feel like we saw a lot of wine bars come up this year with like really like small. Maybe it's like economically driven as well. That's what I really noticed. Like tin fish, obviously, that obviously was a big 2023 thing. But I feel like light wine bar fare is what was really hot in 2024 for me.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that.
So not heavy soups.
Not heavy soups, but maybe 2025 soups.
No. Okay, I'm gonna do one last one, which I actually personally feel I think was correct, which was the emergence of buckwheat or other grain alternatives as either replacements or the centerpiece of meals, soba and other options. So up in Seattle, where I had been living the last couple of years, we obviously have a huge East Asian food cuisine and scene, and I mean just fundamentally you see that trend, quote unquote trend, take place. Curious if you guys saw that down in LA.
Buckwheat, Mona, have you seen it?
I've seen it. I don't know if it's a trend.
Yeah.
I mean, here, a lot of people experiment, but I wouldn't say that anyone's going to lead with, everyone come over and try this buckwheat croissant. I don't know how appealing that is.
Yeah.
And also too, I'm a strict traditionalist when it comes to croissants. Like, just do not mess with perfection. But no, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I think croissants was one of the big trends actually in 2024.
We eat gluten in Los Angeles. It's so great that we do.
Pizza too. A lot of pizza folks in the house actually.
Really
So,
great crusts.
Yeah,
emerging.
crusts. Croissants, that seems to be the way of the future.
Yeah. Despite what Chef's Table might say, yeah, LA eats gluten.
Thank you for throwing that in. Okay, the story that caught my eye this week, to swiftly change the subject, was a New York Times article by Julia Moskin, and it was entitled "A New Campaign Against Loneliness Starts with a Potluck." Basically, this was an initiative driven by Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, who basically did a study last year and found that one of the biggest epidemics ravaging the country is loneliness. So he was looking for ways to combat loneliness. And the way that he identified to do this is to bring together people doing potlucks. It's a project called Project Gather. We'll see if it continues under the next administration. I don't know. But that's the way that he saw to fix loneliness. I think it's pretty cool that food is being seen as a solution to this. My question though is potlucks the answer? Does anybody actually like potlucks?
Black people don't like potlucks. I'm sorry. We don't. My mother always said you have to be careful whose kitchen you go into. And I know Latinos feel the same. But yeah, I do like potlucks from people that I trust, who know how to clean food. So sorry, I am not a germaphobe. I just don't trust everyone's kitchen and cooking ability. Having said all of that, I love the idea of everyone gathering in front of a meal because generally you do find something in common to talk about, or a fight to get into. I do see so many lonely people on a consistent basis. I have a dog that I walk twice a day, and I can see the loneliness in my neighborhood sometimes. People who don't get visitors, people who just don't get out a lot. And we have one person in the neighborhood who gathers everyone there, no matter what politics they support, what perspectives they have. And somehow I find that to be really helpful for these folks who don't have a lot of people in their lives. And if there's anything that I see that's inherently wrong with this country is loneliness for sure. So why not?
Yeah.
Can't hurt.
I will say I totally agree that isolation and the encouraging of people to come together is a great sign. Going from entirely isolated to potluck seems like a huge jump to me. There's so many steps in between being potluck ready from being isolated. And in fact, I downloaded the brochure that the Surgeon General pulled together to help people host these events.
Wow, dude, going above and beyond.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Actually, I suppose I did do my homework. They recommended people go out to coffee shops and ask questions like, what's made you laugh today? And I just thought, I would never want to speak to that person, the stranger in line, who just asking me strange probing questions out of nowhere. So I mean, a worthy effort, like that food is the centerpiece of folks coming together. I feel like there are some steps we might be skipping in helping people connect.
Yeah, I feel like if you're trying to combat loneliness, maybe like regulating social media is a better thing to do than
Good start.
yeah, than encouraging potlucks.
Or shared public spaces and common spaces
Yeah.
people can go in cities with ease. Yeah.
But speaking of that, though, I do think that this is something that like I'm seeing like more corporations try to do. Like when they're looking for their efforts to do social good, right? Like for example, I just did something with DoorDash and I did get paid for it, so full disclosure. But they're doing this initiative where they are trying to get people out of their homes and into restaurants. And it's basically what they're doing that by partnering with the restaurants to get the restaurants to offer some deals that are only available in restaurant. And the goal of that is to get people in restaurants as a way of building community and getting them out in their community. Obvious flaws with it, right? But that said, I do think that we're going to see like corporations leaning into that to like try to, especially food related corporations like DoorDash.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I think the goal of it is to get people on their phones and onto DoorDash on their app where they're spending money. But sure, as a marketing effort and an angle for a corporation to take, yeah.
Yeah. And to download DoorDash, all you have to do, no, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Well, Mona, I just want to say thank you for joining us and making this part of the podcast a little bit more authoritative than usual. So round of applause for Mona. Oh, actually, no, Mona, sit down. I forgot something. Sorry. I forgot that we usually do something on the podcast. Can you tell this is our first live show? It's a segment called Chef's Kiss or Big Miss. You guys heard of that? Okay. So what we do is I usually read a headline, and then I ask Mona and Saul to say whether that idea in the headline is a chef's kiss or a big miss. So I have a few headlines for you. All right, first headline. Sweetgreen has released a kale camo hoodie. Is that a chef's kiss or a big miss? Mona, you first.
Big miss.
Whoa.
No. No.
Why?
I don't know. Honey, I don't know. I would you wear it?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that doesn't go with hello, my name is this. It just doesn't. Not for me.
Fair enough. Saul?
Yeah, no, I guess it's an ironic piece of clothing, I guess,
Yes.
right? And so like you're connecting with folks at Bass Pro Shop in your kale camo sweater or whatever, and they're like, hell yeah, a fellow hunter of like meat in the wild, and you're like, no, in fact, I just want cruciferous vegetables. That's all I'm looking for.
You know what else? I strictly wear local restaurant merch.
That's
They
cool.
are not locals. They never will be. And so I cannot rock that. No.
That's a good reason for it to be a big miss, I think. Now, what if I told you, and you're already on the right side of history here, that Sweetgreen also is being accused by streetwear brand Market of stealing this idea from a collab pitch email the brand sent to Sweetgreen in 2023, and that's what all the headlines are actually about.
You're asking if I think intellectual property theft is a good or bad idea?
Yeah, that's an obvious flaw with this segment. Yeah.
Every time we do this, Luca always has one headline that's very obviously morally incorrect, and he's like, Saul, what do you think? And every time I'm like, what do you think I think, buddy? Yeah, no, it's not good for a corporation to steal pitches. Not great.
It's called a softball. Okay, it's called a okay. Moving on to the next one. Okay, Great British Bake Off. Great British Bake Off teased that there might be an all-star season in the works with previous contestants. Mona, chef's kiss or big miss?
Chef's kiss. Without question.
Just big fan of bringing back the old cast members?
Why not? I wonder how they're doing, don't you?
No, but I would be happy to see. Yeah.
I had a lot of love, watching that with my aunt for many, many of the earliest seasons. And yeah, I'd love to see it.
Fair enough, Saul.
There's no such thing as an amateur all-star. You cannot be a Great British Bake Off contestant is not an all-star. They're trying their best, and that's fine. We love them. It's a reunion, maybe more is what I would call it. But don't fool me. Don't
Hard
fool me
disagree.
Oh my gosh. We can go on for a long time about this one, but no, I would watch the season absolutely. If Rahul's back in there and Nadia, then absolutely I'm watching. But nah, All Stars, let's have some standards.
Okay, we've got some tension on stage here. Last one, Fireball Whiskey has released a new line of product which they say is infused with the actual tears of football fans. It's called Cryerball. Is this a chef's kiss or a big miss?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, you heard it right. Fireball Whiskey, they've released a new line of product, which they say is infused with the actual tears, like real tears from football fans. They literally list out how they sanitize it all in order to put it into the product, and they call it Cryerball.
This is not real.
Swear to God.
Dude, I actually tried to do research and find like a second source besides your link that would confirm this was a real thing, and I could not find one. So I think you might have just been fake news and like fully fooled.
That's fine. Fake news is one of the nice things we've been called.
If it was real, or if it is real, I'm going chef's kiss. What a great idea. What a great gag gift to send to your friend whose favorite team you just beat, your team just beat, right? Good gag gift. I think it's a good idea.
All right, fair enough. Do you change your stance or?
Absolutely no.
I'm gonna go ahead and make some noise if you think Mona won this game. Make some noise if you think Saul won this game.
See, great British Bake Off. You guys are all brainwashed. You got to get over it.
I love everyone in this room.
Well, Mona, we love you, and now I can actually say thank you for joining us. Round of applause for Mona Holmes, please. All right, we are going to welcome our next guest in just a moment, but before we do that, we're going to switch up the format a little bit. We have our first ever LA Food Pod quiz, and we need a volunteer from the audience. David Turkell, please come to the stage. Mr. Turkell, how are you doing today?
Amazing, because everyone on Twitter told me we need more white dudes with podcasts. So this is awesome, and I'm so glad that we're able to heal this nation right now at this amazing juncture between people who want human rights and people who just I think that's here we are.
Yeah, man. Kamala just got on Rogan. Just kidding. Anyways.
Can we let's all get this out. The energy this week has just been bizarre, no matter who you are. If you are a lefty, it's been soul crushing and everything terrible. And if you're an idiot who thought that the price of eggs would go down by 22 cents and now all your Hinge matches have blocked you, it's just been a really tough week for all of us right now. So let's all do a little exercise right now where we just collectively scream into the void, okay? So we're gonna be a 5-second scream.
No. Please do that outside. Please do that outside. Okay, we're gonna start the quiz now. Okay. Earlier this year, the LA Times assembled its food writers to put together an epic guide to the 101 best versions of this type of food. Was it the 101 best burgers, the 101 best tacos, the 101 best ice creams, or D, the 101 best hamachi crudos that are totally unique and not at all like the other hamachi crudos you've had before?
So I want to say the last option, but I know that's wrong. I also want to talk for the next 45 seconds about MK Ultra, but really and purposely, I do think it's tacos.
Ding, 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 we have winner. Okay, on to the next one. With a rating of 9.7 out of 10, this San Fernando Valley restaurant is the top-rated LA restaurant on The Infatuation. Is it A, Sushi Note, B, Petit Trois, C, Anajak Thai, or D, the food court at IKEA except for Saturdays, Sundays, and any other day kids aren't in school?
So there's something special about the food court at IKEA that really keeps me awake and keeps me happy. But we're gonna have to give a shout out to Justin. I think his operation has been fantastic, and we're gonna give a shout out to Anajak. Yeah.
Dude, 2 for 2. Okay, no, hold your applause for the end. He hasn't won the game yet. This reporter made waves earlier this year by posting a brutal takedown of Via's tacos on his Instagram stories. Was it A, Jen Harris, B, Bill Esparza, C, Paul Feinstein, D, the AI chatbot responsible for writing every article at LA Weekly?
We're doing so great at featuring women in these answers. Oh my God, look at us. This is so brave and awesome of us. I'm gonna go with Bill. That was an amazing takedown, which I saw. And I will also say, Via Tacos is good. Like, don't be mad at this spot. It's really good and have it. If you're scared of going past Skid Row, Grand Central Market is perfect for you. If you also grew up in Calabasas and you think that LA has the most crime you've ever seen in the world right now, and suddenly you gentrified a neighborhood and now you think crime is terrible, yeah, you can go to Grand Central Market and it's perfect for you, and maybe also get some Wexlers.
Glad we didn't pick anybody verbose for this. Okay, this influencer is famous for eating all of his meals in his car, making over-the-top facial expressions, and using catchphrases like "creamy daddy" and "I should call her." Is it how Kev eats, what Kev eats, why Kev eats, or watch Kev eat to fill the gaping existential hole in his soul and psyche?
So let's give a little context to my answer right here, because this is fantastic. For those of you who don't know me, I run the most psychotic meme page on the planet, formerly known as Little Caesars, now known as Turk's Pizza Party. And how Kev Eats once decided to give Steve Petronale, who you and I love the most, a review of I believe it was a 7.7 or a 7.8 for his pizza shop that exists in a church parking lot where you cannot even afford to have a bathroom or anything beyond plastic tables, and gave it a review as if it were a Michelin star restaurant. And my response was to post a meme of a burning Tesla, showcasing that you can't trust anyone who reviews anything in a Tesla, because why would you do that? This is why America is the state we are. We trust people in Teslas. That's unbelievable. So I'm gonna go with Kevin Norkovar.
You got the answer right. Hashtag not all Tesla owners, okay? The first ever LA restaurateur, this is the last question for all the Markles. The first ever LA restaurateur to appear as a guest on the LA Food Podcast was, he's sweating now, Dough Daddy's Kyle Davidson, Casa Vega's Christy Vega, Wolfgang Puck's Wolfgang Puck, or Father Saul if you count running the queso station at Qdoba as being a restaurateur.
Again, I really want the last option to be real. That would be fantastic. Let's all give a shout out, obviously, to Abigail. Fantastic. She does PR for Wolfgang and Little Restaurant. She's also the reason why a lot of us are here, including me. So just general shout out. I don't even care if it's wrong. I'm gonna go with Wolfgang because I owe every single thing in my life to him right now. So I'm gonna give him a shout out.
It was actually Casa Vega's Christy Vega, but give it up for Dave Turkell for being a great sport. If you're getting 4 out of 5, you win the game.
Google and pay.
All right, now without further ado, I'd like to bring our final guest for the day up to the stage. Please give it up for Chef Jackson Kalb. Jackson, how you doing today?
Good.
Thank you for
Busy.
joining us. I know you came from the west side. How was the drive over?
It only took an hour or so. That's a record.
So not bad at all. Saul, you want to?
I mean, just to give everyone context here, obviously we're going to talk to Jackson about his restaurants in LA and career, learn more about you, but this is a huge moment for, I think, me personally, and possibly you too, Luca, although you've met Jackson before. We are huge Top Chef fans. And if you follow the podcast, you know that every year for the last 3 years, Luca and I compete in Fantasy Top Chef and try to essentially bet a very expensive dinner on it year over year. Jackson Kalb was the first ever #1 overall pick in Fantasy Top Chef for us. My #1 pick.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So I'm happy you said that because I actually want to share with you a few texts that I sent Luca the night you were eliminated from the show during Restaurant Wars. The night started well. I said, Jackson fundamentally gets how this game works. Brilliant #1 pick by me, honestly. About 40 minutes later, the edit made it pretty clear that you were in trouble. And I said, ... Jackson is going to lose. Jackson's going to lose. God damn it. Fuck me, bro. He knew better than this. He's clearly watched the show before. All right, yeah, this is over. So I forgive you. But it's great to meet you. And you have a historical, sort of iconic stance in our overall Top Chef experience.
How does it feel to hear that?
I'm sorry. I have a really great therapist. You should like to meet them. I watched 1 season total of Top Chef before joining, which was a mistake.
In all honesty, you were really, really good. It was shocking when we went out, and you were crushing before then.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Would you ever do it again?
Yeah, I'd do it again. I probably won't be able to, but
What would you find most meaningful? I don't know if you've ever done each of these things, but since you've met each of the judges, what's more meaningful? A compliment from Tom Colicchio, a wink from Padma Lakshmi, or making Gail cry?
Right.
Yeah.
In a good way or
In
a bad?
in a good way. Gail's a very emotional co-judge on the show, and often I don't think you've made her do that. But if you could have one of those things, which would you choose?
Tom understands chefs more than any of the judges, right? So growing up as a chef, you would want to hear a compliment from him, but that's just like our daddy issues, right? Like we want more. So I would say Tom.
Yeah.
We all have daddy issues. Father Saul is my daddy issue. Jackson, let's zoom out. I want to learn about you as a restaurateur, okay? I think people might not realize just how early you started on in this career.
Yeah, really interesting story. I had a really rich uncle. He gave me $1 million and he said, hey, go do whatever you want, buddy. And I decided to be a chef. Oh, I got you guys. You thought that was real. Okay, so I started cooking when I was 11. There were no family ties to the restaurant industry, and something just drew me to it. I was sick in bed with it was like mono or something when I was a kid. And I just started watching Food Network out of boredom because I had nothing to do all day. It was like sleeping or, I was a little too old for Blue's Clues, right?
Never too old.
Not too old now, but I just started watching Food Network and got drawn to it. And I started cooking and doing catering, which was a huge mistake because I didn't know how to cook. But anyone who was nice enough to give me the cost of food plus $30, I cooked for. And somebody at one of the parties knew the owner of some weird restaurant I never heard of and said, you want to meet a real chef? And I said, yeah, sure, whatever, that's cool. And it just happened to be Josiah Citron of Melise. So I got really lucky there, but I thought I was meeting him. And that day, I go upstairs, I meet Chef. Hi, Chef, how are you? I'm sweating bullets. And he goes, where the fuck are your pants? I was wearing shorts. So I call my mom crying, I need pants, I'm starting work today.
How old were you?
This was 13.
13!
I started that day. First thing I ever did was debone rabbit confit, and I never looked back.
Jesus. Did you have a moment as a 13-year-old being like, what the fuck, I'm way over over my head?
Also, what are child labor laws in California like?
I can't hear you. I need a Q-tip. I'm going to go over that last question. We can skip that one. But anyway, I wasn't working for cash. It was an apprenticeship, right? And I just showed up because I wanted to. And I just liked it. I mean, I didn't know what drew me to it, but there was something about it that just kept me coming back. So every week through middle school and high school, holidays, events, weekends, whatever, I did it. And I just found out, this was within 4 months, right? I've been working for, 20 years in the profession now. Josiah had a 25-year anniversary for all the chefs who'd worked for him and some just locals. And at the end, he kind of thanked everyone. And he went by each chef one by one. He got up to my name and he goes, Jackson Kalb, man, when this guy, I never knew this about him, right? He goes, man, when this guy came in, I was like, fuck. This kid is never gonna make it. He never told me that. This kid's never gonna make it. I was like, that's the first impression you had of me and you let me come back? What's wrong with you?
Did he give you a why or was it just a vibe?
It was just, I think there are a lot of reasons. Let's just put it that way. But he let me come back every week, so kudos to him.
Clearly the experience didn't scare you away though. You decided to pursue it full time. Was there ever anything else on the table that you could have done?
I'm sure there were other things I could have done. I mean, I went to a school where there were plenty of opportunities to meet people who are, they're all probably in private equity now or working for their dad's company and running it or whatever. In all honesty, I was kind of a laughing stock, right? It's like you're going to this high school and you want to be a cook? I mean, literally, I learned this also years down the road, but it was kind of like all the moms made fun of my mom for letting me do it, right? Oh yeah, it was just... And I get it, right? Like at the time, it wasn't like the cool thing to be a chef or a celebrity chef. That didn't really exist. It was just like, the job that people do to survive. And I just liked it. So
Yeah. So make some noise if you've been to one of Jackson's restaurants, whether it's Osby or Gemma. Yeah? Okay. All right, if not, we got to go.
That's assuming they know who I am.
This is a friendly crowd. Now, you make Italian food. How did you gravitate towards Italian food?
That's a good question. I mean, I have a lot of cool answers that I can give, but I'm just going to be honest here. I was just a fat kid who loved pasta. Like, that's what I was growing up. And when I finally made the decision to say I want to open my own place, I just booked a one-way ticket to Italy. I just started bouncing around, moving every 2 weeks and learning from all these little grannies, learning how to make pasta and whatever else, right? And I just thought, hey, if I'm gonna open a restaurant, I want it to be something that is comforting and homey and something that I would want to eat at. And for me, that was mostly fresh pasta. So I loved it.
What was your favorite stop in Italy?
I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was this family. It was 3 or 4 of them, and they served like $1 liters of wine with lunch, right? Like
That would
type
be
of
my
place.
favorite.
Yeah. And they just let me jump in there and actually cook and do it. And I just fell in love with the place. I wish I could remember the name, but it was about 40 minutes by train outside of Florence.
Jackson, one of the things we talk about a lot on the podcast is the balance between the creativity and vision of chefs and the business side, which we see over and over again, that chefs don't necessarily have when they open their first restaurant and are the face of a business, and often get burned. I'm curious for you what the process was like to not just grow as a chef and generate menus and be successful on the food side, but also develop a business skill set that allows you to continue being successful.
Yeah, I think it was Lao Tzu who said, "Fake it till you make it." That was I still don't even think I know what I'm doing. I just figured it out along the way. I thought I knew things, and I honestly didn't know shit. When we first opened, I mean, just even the fundraising part alone, I hinted at this, but I wasn't wealthy growing up, but I went to a school surrounded by very wealthy people, and I thought they all believed in me because they said things like that. They were encouraging to a young kid, and when the time came for me to ask for money, I figured I had this huge network. And from day 1 until month 11, I had raised $0 without a job. I had to move into my childhood bedroom, which was very embarrassing. I was trying to make ends meet through like one-off catering gigs, and even that part alone, I just had no idea. How do you raise money, right? Like, I'm still figuring that part out, by the way, but I didn't have any, so I needed something to open our first store, and I just got lucky. I met 5 guys who put in 10 grand each, and that made it work.
So it's kind of been trial by fire, it sounds like learning on the job how to like operate your restaurants and make them profitable.
I have a lot of feedback loops that I internalize and try to learn from, and it's just a lot learning. It's just really from learning the mistakes, right? Like, it's okay to make them. I say this to all my managers too. It's okay to make the mistake as long as you learn from it. Then it's not a mistake, it's an opportunity. It's a learning experience. But I mean, man, I'm telling you, I'm still making them every day. And hopefully you don't see them, but I definitely feel them.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I thought that was a good question to ask you because like we had one conversation prior to meeting today, and that really stood out to me is like how much you enjoyed and lit up talking about the business side of things, not just the food side of things. And I found that really inspiring because obviously this is a really tough time for LA restaurants, and we're hearing how like creative and hardworking and thinking outside the box restaurants are having to be profitable. I'm curious how you've found it to navigate this moment in LA specifically.
Yeah, also, I mean, thank you for making it look like I know what I'm doing. Fake it till you make it. I mean, like, it's so difficult. Even, I mean, I would say even harder right now than it was 3 years ago to make it work. I don't have one specific answer, but surrounding yourself with really smart, hardworking people and giving them the tools to succeed is a huge part of it. I know that's kind of cliche, but it really is fundamentally based on those people. Like, I can't do it on my own, and I would never try. So I'm very grateful for that.
So don't do it alone, folks. You heard that here. Now, I wanted to zero in on one specific thing that happened recently, and that is you made the decision to transition your Brentwood restaurant, Gemma di Mare, into an Osby, which is obviously your very successful restaurant down in Venice. What drove that decision?
That was based on data and swallowing a lot of pride. I mean, I spent so much time on that Gemma concept, the Gemma di Mare specifically, and it wasn't a flop. It was doing well by all. If you're looking at metrics, it did well, right? Like it was profitable, but it didn't feel like people loved it, right? Like it didn't feel like the community was just embracing it. And I just looked at the data, and we ran a P-mix, which is called, it's a product mix where you look at the number of items sold of each of your restaurant and of each of your menu items. And out of the top 10 for that restaurant, 0 were seafood. Out of the top 15, 1 was seafood, and out of the top 22 were seafood. Out of 35, 40 menu items. So you just kind of, it's this really hard look in the mirror, right? You're swallowing your pride, you swallow your ego, and you just say, let's try it. I mean, give it a shot, right? I have a lot to lose. I'm not gonna say I have nothing to lose. There were millions of dollars on the line in that specific case, but just gave it a shot, and it ended up working out fantastically.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. You seem like someone who's always hustling, thinking of new concepts, new ideas that you want to bring to the table and bring into the world. Are there any that you're like, don't have to announce it here tonight by any means, but is there anything that excites you that you'd like to do in the future?
Yeah, there's quite a bit I'm working on at all times. I'm kind of a loose cannon. I don't think it's easy to work for me. But yeah, we have 2 other restaurant concepts in the works, call it 3, and then 2 businesses adjacent to the restaurant industry, which I'm all trying to self-fund, which is a terrible idea. I mean, spending other people's money is genius. I recommend it for anyone. And when you don't do that and you try to self-fund and it doesn't work, it's 1,000 times more painful, which, if you have about 6 more beers, we can get into that. But yeah.
They're not kicking us out anytime soon, so.
We have a lot we're working on. Yeah.
That's really exciting. Well, Jackson, when you're not on the job, where do you like to eat?
I like really simple food, man. Leo's Tacos is one of my favorite restaurants. I guess I will share this one with you because I don't have any actual social influence, so it's not like it's going to get crowded if I say it's great.
Hey, you don't know that.
There's this place called Gaburi Chicken. It's actually a chainlet in Japan, but they only have 1 restaurant I know of in America. It's in Torrance. It's about 20 seats, very similar to actually the size of our first restaurant. And it's just, to me, it is the best bite of food that I've had in 2024 by a landslide. And it's just roasted chicken and rice. That's all it is.
Wow. That sounds good. I'd never
Please
heard
don't
of that
go.
place.
I don't want it to get slammed.
The wait just got a lot longer at that place. We'll link it in the show notes, as we like to say. Because we got a lot of pizza heads in here too, a lot of pizza makers. I also know that you've spent a lot of time developing a pizza dough that you are making at Gemma Pizzeria over in the Palisades. Tell us about your dough and that process of developing it.
Yeah, don't get into the pizza dough. It is so mind-numbingly.
Pizza.
I can't tell you, it's still driving me crazy. I mean, we're still working on it, but that took 6.5 years of development. And when we finally launched it the first day, I was just like, this is the most disgusting thing. It would be embarrassing to open. I changed like 15% of it when we opened, but we're still working on it. I mean, I'm really happy with it now, but we have a starter that's 5.5 years old that we've been working on just for that dough, and the hydration even for that and the flour content for that has changed at least 15 times. And that's just for the start, right? That's 20% of the dough. It's something that's alive, right? You can't control it. You want to, right? But you can't. It's alive. It's this living thing, and it just drives me crazy, right? Like I can't tell yeast what to do, especially if it's wild yeast. And it's anyway, we landed on something great, but it took way longer than I thought.
It's really good. If you haven't been to Gemma Pizzeria, definitely go check it out. Look, I want to make sure we leave time for Q&A, which is something we don't typically get to do on the podcast. So this is it. Q&A, folks. If you got anything for me, Saul, Jackson, Mona too, she's still here. No, you do not have. If people have questions for you, I may call you back up here, Mona. No, you don't have to, but if people have questions for you. Does anybody have a question? Okay. Well, oh yeah, Donnie, right there. Yell it out. We can hear you.
So you talk quite a bit about icks, but also a little bit about ikigai, which is can you define it for the audience, and also like what is it about food and talking about food in a video? You feel like it's worth it.
Oh wow! So the question for people who didn't hear it is: we talk about icks and ikigai, and what does that term actually mean? Either of you have an answer to that?
Well, we talked about this during the Evan Funky podcast, in particular. I don't know if you're teeing us up to get canceled live here, Donnie, but yeah, I mean, again, it was the appreciation of essentially your work is your passion in your life, right? I don't know the term, but I don't like live my life by ikigai. But we decided to use it when we were criticizing Evan's Chef's Table episode. Um, no, I mean, look, the reason why I do this and why I think you do it is because we fundamentally love and enjoy and want to celebrate the food scene that the city has to offer. And I think as I've learned more about what else the other sort of offerings and commentators in LA who have podcasts, there's sometimes a sense of entitlement I think that they bring to the conversation. And I think that what our purpose is to approach this with a sense of that we're not just being served, and our dollar doesn't mean that we can just say or treat restaurants as if we have any real authority over them. It's to be people who can celebrate, bring awareness to, champion, and hopefully overall elevate the conversation and the celebration of food in the city. And so, I mean, that's what I bring to it. Plus, I got to talk to my friend. But yeah,
Yeah, I just like to get free food. Honestly, that's my answer. Jackson, why do you do what you do? What's your why?
I wish I had a great reason for that. It's drawn me since youth. There's something about it where even in my most stressful, awful moments where I just say, why did I ever do this? When I think about doing something else, I can't leave the industry. It owns me.
is your therapist that good if you haven't had an answer to this yet? It feels like you should have figured
I've only had like 4 sessions. So.
All right, still early. Any other questions? If not, that concludes our first ever LA Food Pod live show. Give it up for Mona, Jackson, Forrest Hall. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. Grab yourself a drink and let's have some fun. We did it.